Today, I am here to answer the question, is microgreen growing hard? With just a few simple tools, the right seeds, and one game-changing secret, we'll find out. So stick around. I'll show you everything you need to know, and you won't want to miss the surprise tip I have at the end. It's a game changer. Hi, I'm Connor Hebel here with Amelia Island Microgreens, and we're excited to be the go-to place for microgreen learning. So let's get to it. So first of all, what are microgreens? Microgreens are the stage right after a sprout. So you have the seed, the sprout, then a microgreen. And the reason why microgreens are so incredible is they are the most nutrient-dense stage in the life cycle of a plant, even more so than your sprouts. Microgreens contain up to 40% more nutrient density than your mature vegetables. So they're super nutrient dense, and they contain all the same vitamins and minerals that your mature vegetables will, and in most cases, they're more concentrated. For example, there's a phytonutrient called sulforaphane, which is in your brassica family. That's your green leafy vegetables like kales, collards, even broccoli. And what sulforaphane does is it can aid in cancer prevention. It causes the cancer cells to do a thing called autophagize, which basically means commit suicide. And there have been many studies that have shown that microgreens have 10 to 100 times more sulforaphane than your mature vegetables. That's right, not 10 to 100%, 10 to 100 times more sulforaphane. So microgreens are so incredible for your health. And on top of that, you're harvesting them right when they're live, which means that there's not that time that it takes to get to the store where they've already harvested it before it was even ripe. This is something you can harvest right when you're ready to eat it. So it is so incredible. And one of the biggest reasons why I love growing microgreens is they take only 7 days. There's no weeding, no bugs. You don't even have to leave your house in order to grow microgreens. It's all right at your kitchen countertop. And it's as simple as lifting up the 2 trays, putting a cup of water in, and putting that back down. It is such minimal maintenance that it is so incredible. I like to say, you may not have a green thumb, but you have a microgreen thumb. It is so fun, which means that it's great for people of all ages. From kids to adults, it's also great for anyone who's having health challenges or mental health challenges and they can't take care of a full garden, but growing something small would make a huge difference for them. I was one of those people. My whole life, I've had genetic health challenges, and when I was 7, it got to be to the point where I couldn't even get out the door. It was very serious and very severe. My doctors thought for sure I had cancer. And so the thought of gardening or doing something more intense, more than just leaving the house, would have been too much for me. Fortunately with microgreens, they were just right on my kitchen countertop and I got to watch them grow. It was so fun and so simple for me that it really became a part of my life. And I am so grateful that I found them because they changed my life just because there wasn't much I could do, but I could at the very least do microgreens. So if I could do microgreens when I was severely ill, then you can grow them too. I like to say you may not have a green thumb, but you have a microgreen thumb. It is super simple. They are also perfect for windowsills or for small places like boats or RVs, apartments, and even NASA's grown them in space. So if NASA can grow them up in space, then you can grow them in your tiny apartment too. So just a few bullets from what I've talked about. There's no need for extensive gardening experience. Anyone can grow microgreens. They grow indoors with minimal tools and effort, and they are super cost effective. Regardless of whether you go with a microgreen kit or you DIY your own microgreen kit, it's going to be more cost effective than going to a store and buying them. By growing them yourself, you're going to have the freshest microgreens, and it's just a cheaper alternative that is so much more fun, in my opinion. And if you've never grown anything before, microgreens are the perfect way to start, and I'll prove it. So let's talk about the tools that you will need in order to grow your microgreens. The first thing you'll want are seeds. And this is a really important stage, if not the most important, for whether your microgreens will grow or whether they won't. So with seeds, there are a couple things you want to look for. The first one that is super important is you want your seeds to be pathogen tested. And the reason why you want this is, remember a few years ago there was the E. coli and Salmonella scares with sprouting? That was because people were getting seeds that were not pathogen tested. And so they were getting seeds that had E. coli and Salmonella in them, and they were incubating them in those tiny little jars. Since you're eating so close to that seed, you can't have any kind of pathogens in there, or otherwise it can be very dangerous and risky. That's why you really want to get seeds that are tested for pathogens. The other thing that you really want to have are seeds that have a good germination rate. Typically, when you get seeds from a source that pathogen tests, they're also going to look at the germination qualities, so you won't have to worry about this too much. Usually they'll just show it on the little tag. And for these, you have like 1 to 2 years to grow them before the germination rate starts to go down. So you have quite a while. Just don't put them in the sunlight or put them near water, and you'll have a good shelf life for them. The other things that are really great but aren't as important is getting organic, non-GMO, and heirloom. Those are some really big bonuses that I would highly recommend. However, pathogen testing is super important, and so is that germination rate. And with seeds, another thing, if you are DIYing your microgreens, you're going to have to go online and find a seed calculator and calculate the size of your tray to the type of seed you have. So this can be a little bit of a tedious process. If you're not someone who really wants to go down the whole rabbit hole of learning everything with a DIY kit, then I would suggest getting an already made microgreen kit where you just open the box and everything's ready to go. You don't have to worry about finding the right seeds, the soil, the tray, and also measuring everything to fit that kit. It can be a little tedious, and that's why I took my 12 years of microgreen experience and put it into a kit to make it as simple as I can for you. That way you don't have to worry about the unnecessary things, and you get to enjoy the best part of microgreen growing, which is the growing part, not the sourcing part. Okay, so now let's talk about trays. Trays are really important, especially if you live in a humid climate. You can get away with different trays if you live in a more dry area. However, it's just better to play it safe and not worry about this aspect. So there's many different types of trays you can get. So let's break it down into 2 different categories. There are the 2-tier microgreen trays, which means that you can lift up one tray and put water underneath it. So the tray that you lift up has all of your microgreens and the soil on top of it. The one you lift up, you just put the water in. You can see all the roots from the first tray. It's a really cool system. Then the second one is a tray that just has one tier. You would end up pouring water on top of the microgreens after germination. And of the two, the one that is going to make the biggest difference in growing your microgreens is that 2-tier tray. And the reason why this is so important is that microgreens are grown super densely, more than if they were grown out in the garden. In fact, they would start choking each other out because they're so dense. And so if you start pouring water on top of your microgreens, there's a big chance that they will mold. And that is very bad because we don't want moldy microgreens. So having that second tray, you can lift that tray up, put a cup of water underneath and put that back down. And that makes it so that you don't have to worry about pouring water into something super dense that doesn't get a lot of ventilation. So my recommendation is to go with that 2-tier tray. If you do live in a dry climate, you can get away with a 1-tier tray. However, it's not really worth it if you can make it so that you can have that 2-tier tray. That's what I would do. It's just better to be safe than sorry. All right, light source. This is one that a lot of people worry about, and that is getting the right amount of light. This is super important, and it's not as scary as you think. In fact, I recommend people grow their microgreens right next to a window. Ambient light's perfect for them. Like the light right here, you can see that. This is perfect. I don't need direct sunlight, and my microgreens would grow really well right here. Just near a window, and you're good to go. If you don't have a window, or say you have cats and they like to be around this area, but you have like a separate room that you can grow your microgreens in, then a grow light is a good alternative. And I'll link a few in the description below if you're wanting to get one. They're really inexpensive and they can make a huge difference in your microgreen growing ability. Another thing, if you've gotten new windows recently and they've been tinted, I've noticed that there have been a few different types of tinted windows that the sunlight that the microgreens need doesn't flow through. So if you're noticing that your microgreens just aren't growing, no matter how close to the window you put them, it could be your windows. And in that case, you just get a grow light. It can be a simple LED light. In fact, the light that I'm using for this video, something like this would work really well for your microgreens. What I used for when I was growing microgreens for restaurants were those shop lights, those long LED shop lights, and those work good too. In the description, I have like a grow rack with those LED lights, and that's if you want something a little bit bigger. To start off simple, just a small grow light is perfect. It doesn't have to be in depth or really challenging. Growing microgreens is really easy, and I found that microgreens are really hardy. So you have a little bit of leeway with them. If you're finding that your microgreens just aren't growing and you can tell that it's like light or water or something, and you want a little help in tweaking to make it so that they grow perfectly, then reach out to me at connor@ameliaislandmicrogreens.com. And when you do that, be sure to send me a photo. From there, I can best support you because I want to see your microgreens grow, and I know that you can do it. You have a microgreen though. So let's talk about the easy microgreens to grow. So here's a few that are really simple. Most of these I put in the microgreen kits because they're so simple and it's a nice variety of microgreens. The cool thing about your easy microgreens to grow is even though they're easy, they don't all taste the same. So like your broccoli, wasabi, oriental mustard, brown mustard, collards, kale, cabbage, salad mix, turnip, even radish can be a quick growing microgreen and have a high success rate. So now if you want something more intermediate, then I would recommend sunflower and pea microgreens. I would start with pea microgreens. They're really simple, and the only difference between the easy to grow microgreens and pea microgreens are that you're gonna soak them for a few hours. You just follow the instructions on the packet and you're ready to go. And I love them. They taste like going out into the garden and getting a fresh pea. They are super delicious. For your sunflower, it's a little more tricky because they have a higher chance of getting mold and they're just a little bit more quirky when it comes to growing them. So that would be more of like a hard intermediate type of microgreen. And do not grow them for your first grow. If you're finding that your sunflowers just aren't growing, it usually isn't you. The seeds can go really well or really horribly. I've heard so many mixed things with sunflower. So test it out, try it, see if it works for you, and if it doesn't, don't be hard on yourself because sunflower are a very special microgreen to grow. So if you're starting, I recommend starting with broccoli microgreens. It's a simple, very common microgreen. They're super easy to grow and packed with nutrients, including the sulforaphane that I mentioned earlier on. And you want to take it up a notch? Combine seeds to create a custom microgreen blend that is uniquely yours. The one thing here, if you want to take 2 microgreen seed packs, just use half of one and half of the other, and you can create your own blend. And it'll still be measured out for that microgreen tray. You just want to use the equivalent of 1 microgreen seed pack, and you'll be ready to go. I love creating my own custom blends. It's super fun. So if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give a like and subscribe, and be sure to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any amazing microgreen videos that are coming up. And if you're ready to start growing your microgreens, be sure to head over to ameliaislandmicrogreens.com/101 for a free microgreen masterclass that'll take you from microgreen beginner to microgreen grower. It uses my 12 years of microgreen growing experience to empower you to grow your own microgreens in just 7 days. It is super simple, and I know that you can do it. All right, now for that secret tip. I believe there's something really special about plants getting sunlight. And so what I like to do is I like to take my microgreens right outside for about 15 minutes and just let them see the sunlight. Please supervise your microgreens at this point because they can shrivel up really easily from the sun. But like how there's important things in the sun for us, there are important things from the sun for microgreens. So just getting them outside a little can make all the difference. So now that you've got all the tools and the tips to grow microgreens at home, it's time to take the next step. For a complete microgreen masterclass and even more secret tips, head to ameliaislandmicrogreens.com/101. You'll find everything you need to grow like a pro and make the most of these tiny superfoods. What microgreens are you most excited to grow? Share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your plans. And if there's any microgreen growing questions, be sure to put those in the comments too. I love to answer any microgreen questions, and I'm here to support you. So now that you know how to grow microgreens, let's hop over to this video and talk about the challenges you may experience, whether it's mold or improper watering. I got you covered right here. Stay awesome. See you in the next video.